Okay, I'm going to talk about religion. So, I'll just start out by saying that, like, when I was a kid, I was raised a Christian. I think I went to church, not super consistently. My parents weren't the most dedicated Christians, but went to church, at one point in my life, maybe once or twice a week, and it kind of faded as time went on. But I would say I never actually truly believed in God, though. I was kind of always like, kind of questioned it. It didn't make sense to me. It's like the modern interpretation of Christianity just didn't click in my head. It didn't make any logical sense. So I would say that back then I was probably agnostic without actually knowing what that word was or what that word meant. But I was probably an agnostic back then when I was really young. And then at some point, fast forward into my teenage years, I identified with the word atheist. I identified as an atheist when I learned what that meant, because I looked at these religions and I said, well, this doesn't make any sense. It seems like if God is what all these religions say he or she is or it is, then God's evil, right? And that's the interpretation of a lot of atheists. They say that, like, if this is God, I don't want to be part of God. This is no fun, right? So since then, though, I I no longer identify as an atheist. I identify as an omnist. And what an omnist is basically you are more or less a follower of all religion. You look at religion and you see the merits in all the religions and you adopt them. You adopt the good parts and perhaps deny the bad parts, but it's not exactly denying the bad parts. And I'll explain what I mean by that. So, the reason I don't necessarily deny the bad parts is because the bad parts of any given religion are they're up to interpretation, right? If an atheist says that God is evil because God created pain and suffering, then you could say that then maybe you would say that this religion it doesn't make sense, and that I don't want to be God. I don't want to follow this God. So therefore you don't follow Christianity, for example. But but you could also make the assumption that these religions are old, right? These holy books are old. The Bible is old. The Quran, whatever it may be. Maybe the current modern popular interpretation of these religions is completely wrong. Maybe the people that wrote the book had a whole different set of intentions by the words that were written in these books, and maybe the words have been translated so many times by now that it would be nearly impossible to interpret these religions in the way they were originally meant to be interpreted. So that's how I became an omnist. I dropped the modern interpretations of these religions, and this is kind of where my logical side comes in. When I was young, the reason I didn't believe in God was because it didn't make logical sense to me. I was a logical thinker, and I still think I am. So, in that light, I kind of followed science. I like following new scientific discoveries and whatnot, and that leads you to the Big Bang, right? The Big Bang theory says that we all come from one point, one singularity, and in that light, we are all one to some extent, right? And despite the fact that we feel separate from each other, we're all living in this same reality. We're all sharing this same reality together. So if you apply this concept of the Big Bang, this singularity concept, to all religions, you can logically conclude that all these religions are the same in that they're all pointing out the same underlying wisdom that forms our reality. And if there's a modern interpretation of these religions that doesn't assume that all of these religions are the same, then those interpretations are wrong. So what I did was I found an interpretation to every religion that makes them all logically point to the same wisdom. So, in other words, find your own interpretation to these religions that makes them all make sense at the same time, logically. And if you do that, then what happens is you become an omnist, because the truth is the wisdom in these religions is, there's a lot of wisdom in these old religions. And if you don't believe me, then ask yourself why these religions are still around 2,000 years later. Do you think people are going to be... What's the biggest thing in our culture today? Probably maybe some kind of music, or maybe some kind of TV show, maybe a movie series, like I don't know, some Marvel TV show, Marvel's series, or the Marvel Universe. Do you think that Marvel Universe will be around in 2,000 years? Maybe it will, but I don't think it will. And what that means is that these religions, they were profound when they started, and they remained very profound. But again, perhaps the interpretations of them, they strayed from the original interpretation that was meant by the people who wrote them, who wrote these religious texts. So in that light, we basically we're not interpreting the religions right, and that leads us to logically deny the modern interpretations. That's where I was, right? So the trick is to find an interpretation of all the religions that makes them all make sense at the same time. And you don't do that by taking these religions, the words of these religions, literally. And that's the problem. It's like it takes a lot of thinking. What you want to do is you want to take the words of these religions metaphorically. And if you find a logical interpretation that perhaps is based on metaphors, then you can make all of these religions make sense at the same time. And in doing so, again, you become the omnist. You become the person who sees the value in all of these religions. And you can say that there's been a lot of religious wars over the years. That's absolutely true, right? And it's because these people are probably misinterpreting the religions. The thing is a lot of these religions developed independently of one another. They developed in different parts of the world, and they were in at different times, right? So it could very well be that there are just different ways of writing down the same wisdom, and honest to God, I believe that. I believe that they are just the same interpretations of the underlying nature of our reality, and they just got written down differently. Because how do you, I don't know, if you have two people who if you look at a chair, right? Or rather, I'll say this: if you have two groups who see a need for a chair, and they're separate from each other, they're both going to design a chair, but is the design of that chair going to be exactly the same? Is the name they give to that chair going to be the same? The answer is no. But the purpose is the same. You sit on the chair. That's how you have to look at religions. And when you do this, it really does bring peace to your mind, body, and soul. And that's what a lot of these religions say. They say that they're trying to bring peace to the world, but the problem is we've been so separated that peace is hard to kind of create between all of these divided groups. They're not actually that divided. They all are following the same wisdom. That's the truth, but it's the division that causes the problem. And that's why I just bring up a little technology into the mix here. For the first time ever on this planet, to our knowledge, we have the technology to communicate with each other across the world. And what that technology does is it provides us the opportunity to bring all of these divided tribes and divided religions, divided nations together in a way that we have never been able to do before. It's provided us the capability to achieve world peace, whereas before, when the tribes living in Russia, the current day Russia, met with the tribes living in Alaska, what did they do? Well, they fought each other because they couldn't communicate. They didn't know of each other's existence, and they have these slightly different religions that again have the same purpose, but they exercise that purpose in a different way, and they see each other as enemies, and then they fight. The internet has provided us the capabilities of dissolving these divisions, and that's why I think we live in a very, very special time, and I think we need to embrace that. I think we need to embrace the potential of unity that we have right now. I don't think this time comes very often. I don't. I think it's a very special opportunity, and if we squander it, well, we have no one to blame but ourselves. And it doesn't. And you know, you can't blame, if you blame your opposition for attacking you, and you justify attacking them because they attacked you, then again, you're no better than them. All of these conflicts we have between these divided groups around the world, they stretch back thousands of years, right? And if we if we don't realize that this division is a result of conflicts from thousands of years ago, hundreds of years ago, then we're going to be slaves to the conflicts of our ancestors. And why would we do that? From any logical standpoint, ask yourself why we would do that. Does it make sense? It's not serving us. It's literally serving the fears of our ancestors who are long dead. Okay, and we need to break out of this cycle, and I think the internet has provided us the means to do so. So, I'm talking in this video right now in English. Someone who speaks Chinese won't understand it, right? So there's a language barrier there still. We still have work to do. It's not like I can speak to everyone around the world and get this message across. It's not. I could talk for hours, and I try to make a videos every week to try to explain different interpretations of reality to bring people together. But I can't do it. I can't reach everybody. I might reach 3 people in totality with all of my efforts, but that's enough if everyone else reaches 3 people as well. We all have to do our part. So the point here is that you need to do your part. Use the internet for good, okay? Don't use it for evil. Don't use it for greed. Don't use it to manipulate people. Use it to help people unite together, and we can create world peace. Like I said, the opportunity we have with the internet, it can be used for good or evil. The internet can be used to create and destroy. It's nothing. It's like a hammer. You can build a house with a hammer, or you can kill someone with a hammer. Let's use the internet to unite the world. And I've mentioned this before. I have this dream, or this vision, where AI will dissolve the need for a one world language. We could just speak into a microphone, and the words could be translated perfectly to another person across the world that speaks a different language. That would be a truly beautiful prospect, and I think it'll happen one day. We're already obviously kind of on the brink of that technology, I would say. But there's all kinds of nuances between languages, all kinds of slang and stuff, and not to mention there's the the way we speak, with sorry, I can't think of the word right now, but the tone of our voice. And we can, if you translate words to somebody monotonously, it's not going to sound as good as using the quiverings of someone's voice. Or I'm sorry, I can't think of the word right now, but bottom line, just try to use this internet for good. Okay, talk to people, try to unite people. If we do that, we can create a new perception of the world we live in. That's all these religions are. They're just ways to view the world. And if you try to only pick one, and you use your obedience to one religion to fight another, you're just going to create more conflict in the future. Don't be a slave to our ancestors' conflicts. We have the ability to overcome them. Let's use it. Thanks for watching.